What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at ImmacSports.
Instagram is also at Max Sports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. It's episode 293. And the New York Knicks have reached the NBA Finals for the first time in our lifetime, 27 years, which is great. We'll talk about a little basketball at the end of the show. However, though, we're about to hit the dog days of summer in the baseball season, a little over a month away from the Midsummer Classic.
Yeah. We're going to be doing our first All-Star roster predictions. All-Star voting usually begins, I believe, on June 1st. So good to kind of get ready for that, I guess, because that would be next week at this point. That's the meat and potatoes of the episode, and then obviously some other stuff to go with it as well, too. But how about you get us started? College World Series stuff starting to get going now.
Yeah, the College World Series is must watch every year for baseball fans, whether you've watched one game this year or follow multiple teams like we try to over here. And I love the big brother versus little brother aspect of this tournament too. Yes, there's going to be a ton of teams from the South. I believe the SEC has the most from a single conference. But over here on the West, we got 9 entertaining teams in some very hostile areas. Oregon State has to go up to Eugene for their regional for the first time in a long time. UCSB getting the old Fullerton treatment as they go to Austin, Texas as a 2 seed. Brutal, but going to be an awesome matchup. Can Cal Poly upset number 1 UCLA? How about USC, College Station? Anyways, I'm excited. Championship odds lead with UCLA plus 500. And then we got the very powerful Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, followed by Texas and Georgia, who ended up winning the SEC.
Yeah, I guess I'll piggyback off of that with some UCSB specific stuff. The regional, like you said, at Austin, Texas is going to be tough. It's also Tarleton State and Holy Cross is the other 2 teams, which is kind of funny in there. I saw the odds. Santa Barbara's like plus 650 to win that regional. Texas is minus 700. So it's really just those 2 teams that have a chance, it feels like. SB starts off with Tarleton State on Friday. After that, I believe, is when they play Texas. I would imagine they save Flora for that game. That would be the plan, I'd imagine, because he'd be the guy that – I mean, SB's pitching is really good top to bottom, but you got to feel like you should be able to handle Tarleton State with your number 2 or number 3 starter. And then the guy who's going to be the first pitcher off the board in the MLB draft needs to be facing the number 6 team in the nation. So hopefully it plays that way for SB. And if they beat Texas, which they can beat anybody when Flores is on the mound, then things are possible. They beat UCLA earlier this year, so you never know. You just need to score runs, and that's been the thing that's a big struggle for SB this year. But my opener, Gage Jump, is a big leaguer. In about 2 hours from now, or 2.5 hours from now, he'll be taking the mound in West Sacramento, unfortunately, instead of Oakland or Las Vegas. So he gets his big league debut in a minor league ballpark. But an exciting day for the A's. It feels like over the past 3 or 4 years at this point, to debut, it's Geloff, it's Soderstrom, it's Kurtz, it's Wilson, it's I guess Lawrence Butler, Denzel Clark, Henry Bolte just a couple weeks ago. But now we get a pitcher, and as we know, as A's fans know these past couple years, we need pitching big time. And Gage Jump seems to be one of the 3 killer lefties for the A's that is going to be coming up over the next year or so. With him, Jamie Arnold, and Wei-Yin Len. Jump's the first one to make the big leagues. We're excited to see him pitch. Seems to be kind of like my comp for him, I guess, is like a Robbie Ray type of individual where he's probably not going to get you 7 innings, but it might be 5 or 6 innings of 8K to 10K baseball with a lot of swing and miss. He might have some bad days with some control issues, but when he's on, and he's a guy that you would probably want to start a playoff game for you. So hopefully it turns that way for Gage Jump, and hopefully he has a successful first outing in the big leagues tonight against the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
Moving on to our player, pitcher, and rookie of the week. Starting off with the player of the week. Who'd you choose here?
I'm going Ketel Marte, 16 hits last week, 16 for 24, 667 batting average, and add 2 homers to that too. Not too bad for Marte. But most importantly, Arizona is on a heater right now. 8 wins out of 10, only a few games back of San Diego and the Dodgers now.
Yeah, Ketel Marte is rolling right now. Like you said, 16 for 24, 2 homers, 10 RBIs, 5 doubles. Slow start for him this season, but he's picked up to, I mean, it's not Ketel Marte full season numbers yet that you'd expect, but he's starting to get there. OPS nearing 800. Pitcher of the week. Who do you have?
Ton of guys went off this week, including a no-hitter, but I'll touch on that in the next category here. Mizorowski still doing unimaginable things, the entire Kansas City rotation. But one guy who's had a lot of ups and downs in his career, Reed Detmers, will get my vote. 8 innings, 1 run, 1 hit that was a solo shot. 14 strikeouts, though, against Texas. He did get knocked around by the A's before this start, but clearly has the stuff to stick in a rotation and continues to rack up the strikeouts.
Yeah, I mean, we had a complete game shutout. We had a no-hitter. We had another Mizorowski just dominant performance. But I'm choosing none of them. I'm going Reed Detmers as well, too. Sunday night baseball performance, by the way, for Reed Detmers. 8 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 0 walks is a big thing here that I'm circling, and 14 strikeouts. I mean, he has the stuff to do it. He's thrown a no-hitter, in 2022, 2021? It's been a minute, but dominant in the back end of the bullpen for the Angels this past year. A lot of people didn't think he'd work out, again, working into the rotation this year, mainly just because of the Angels. He just didn't really have a ton of trust in the organization, but, man, he's been great. And all culminated this past weekend against the Rangers, where he just dominated them. But as you know, as we'll talk about here in a second, the Rangers offense isn't doing that greatest because of our rookie of the week. Who's going to be who?
I think we got to go Tatsuya Imai here. 6 no-hit innings for a guy coming off of a really bad start to his major league career. Already been dealing with injuries, but he gets that combined no-hitter started. They don't do it without him. And this is also going to be an honorable mention for Alimber Santa, I think is the correct pronunciation. Santa Claus through the last 2 innings in his major league debut with that no-hitter. So, it's going to go to Imai, but I think we had to mention the guy who finished it off too here.
Yeah, Tetsuya Imai is my pick here. 6 no-hit innings against the Rangers last night. 4 walks, 2 strikeouts isn't the prettiest route to get there, but he did do it. This is a guy that I had as my rookie of the year pick in the AL, and it seems very much so that it's not going to happen. But there's been a couple of starts throughout his big league tenure so far where you're like, oh, yeah, like he can be really good. And last night was one of those. He's also had some really terrible performances, but I won't hit on those for too long. And it was good to find out that Santa actually is real last night as well, too. I don't know if you saw the belt that he was wearing, but it had little Santa Clauses on it. I believe on the front of the belt, it had like the Dominican flag as well, too. So a 1-of-1 belt from Alimber, I don't know, Santa Claus. That's what we'll go with. But moving on to our first All-Star roster predictions. How this will work, we'll start off in the AL because that's alphabetical. We'll do the starters, catchers through DH, the reserves, then the starting pitcher, and the rest of the starting pitchers on the roster, and then the relievers as well too. Always an interesting caveat when you're doing MLB roster, All-Star roster predictions is that you got to have somebody from each team, and that makes it be a little tricky sometimes. I didn't think it was terribly hard this year, but we'll start off with the catcher in the American League, and this one's a pretty easy one for me and Skyler.
Yeah, we're going Shea Langoliers. Way more hits than any of the catchers in the American League. Still over 300 batting average, not to mention the power. 13 homers also leads that list.
Yeah, Shea Langoliers, pretty easy. Dylan Dingler's had a great season as well, too. Ryan Jeffers has been a sleeper. Adley Rutschman, maybe if he was healthy the entire year, could be in the conversation. But Shea Langoliers has really, had this from day one, really, of the season. First base.
Unfortunately, it will not be back-to-back A's here for me. I think Ben Rice would easily win that fan vote if it came down to it. Such a hot start and plays for the Yankees. So I think he gets the nod with 16 homers.
Yeah, this is my team. No, I want Kurtz. Kurtz is a better player. I mean, I don't think there's a doubt about that. Um, the WAR shows it. The other statistics show it as well too. Will he win the fan vote? I don't know. I mean, this is a guy who just won Rookie of the Year last year. Outside of New York, I think a lot of people know Kurtz's name rather than Ben Rice, which is weird to say as an A's fan. I think Kurtz is definitely the more popular player, but the mass of New York and what they can do might sway this one. But I did go Kurtz. And then on to second base, which could be potentially the worst position out of any of these, AL or NL.
Yeah, that's fair to say. And it's crazy to also say as an A's fan, but Ernie Clement feels like the only really qualified guy from the American League right now. So much more efficient than the other second baseman, which, it's a big deal to be an efficient player at second base because you're not doing as much defensively. Unless Jazz Chisholm hits a bunch of homers, I would expect to see Ernie at second.
Yeah, Jazz and Ernie were probably two vote guys that will be up there. I think Bazana's had a really phenomenal start as well too. Maybe if he's played 50 instead of 25 games, he'd be the guy. But I went with the former Yankee Oswald Peraza, who's had a phenomenal year for the Angels so far. Is he an all-star if he's playing at any other position? Probably not. But I think he's been the best AL second baseman so far. So I went Oswald Peraza. Feel-good story in Anaheim this year. On to third base.
Yeah, third base. I decided to go with Junior Caminero here. He's kind of the face of Tampa Bay, who's a very, very dominant team right now. And, he's coming off a year with 40 homers. I feel like this is another guy who not only would win the vote, but is a fan favorite across the league.
I went with the only other qualified third baseman who has a higher WRC plus than Junior Caminero, and that's Miguel Vargas of the Chicago White Sox. He was my breakout pick this year, so maybe just kind of a feel good, put him in there type thing for me right now. I'd expect fan vote. It's probably going to be J-Ram or Caminero, but for my team, I'm going Miguel Vargas because he's been great for the White Sox, who are one of the best teams in the AL so far. Shortstop, and I think this one is pretty easy.
Yeah. There are a ton of close calls, right? Two guys with the same amount of pop, same amount of production this season, but maybe not the bigger name. Maybe one was a breakout that you called, like you said, but shortstop doesn't have that problem. Bobby Witt Jr. is having a spectacular season and stands alone at shortstop.
Yeah, it's very easy. Bobby Witt. He leads the MLB in WAR by like a wide margin. He's the best defensive shortstop. He's got 16 stolen bases. He's got 8 homers. A slow first couple of weeks of the season. If you take that out, I mean, he's looking at 4 or 5 WAR already, which is nuts. He's at 3.4 right now, F4 wise. But Bobby Witt, yeah, I mean, Jacob Wilson's not starting this one. I'll say that. So happy we got that out of the way last year. And then the 3 outfield spots, they don't do like left field, right field, center field in the All-Star game. So just 3 outfield spots. Who were the 3 guys that you had for the AL?
I'm going to start with the controversial one because I wanted a left fielder on this list. So I'll go with old reliable Cody Bellinger. You just know Bellinger is going to come through for you. He backs it up, 1.0 OPS, both with runners in scoring position and just any at bat with 2 outs. So I still believe he's in that upper echelon outfielders.
You go all 3.
Okay. Mike Trout, when Mike Trout's healthy, he's always going to be in the spot. So I chose him over another guy I'll talk about later. And then, of course, Aaron Judge, probably, leading in MVP conversation once again because he's so powerful. We'll talk about that in a month, though.
My 3 outfielders, Judge is here. 17 homers, I believe, leads the AL right now. Maybe Murakami's tied, but actually, Murakami might have more. Regardless, Aaron Judge is in there for sure. Mike Trout is definitely in there for me as well, too. I think if he has a remotely close season, he deserves to be in there. So that's the Angels' second All-Star. And then Byron Buxton is the third guy that I went with. Bellinger was close. Rosarena was close. But I just felt Buxton is the guy for me. I don't know. Usually it's a bigger name. And I think Buxton's been really good this year. Now on to the reserves. We got 8 reserves here. So I guess start with the infielders or catchers if you have any, and then infielders. Then we'll go to the outfielders after.
Okay. Well, you want me to go one by one or just go through them?
We'll go catchers. Catchers for you, catchers for me, infielders for you, infielders for me, outfielders for you, and so forth.
Okay. Well, I only got one, just Dylan Dingler. I agree with you. Awesome season. Ryan Jeffers looks like he's just going to miss too much time. And a pretty good representative. Not my only Tiger, but I wanted to make sure I had a catcher I trusted at the backup spot.
I was close to doing Dingler. I think I had him on, and then I took him off because I needed a rep for another team. So I went Wilson Contreras as my backup catcher. He's had a really good year in Boston. 148 WRC plus, second, I believe, in WAR. Actually, no, third in WAR behind Dingler. But Contreras definitely has the bat edge over him. So Wilson Contreras is my catcher, who's not really even a catcher anymore. So that one's kind of flawed, but I guess it'll work here. And then your infielders.
Okay. Well, I didn't mention Big Amish earlier. Definitely a guy who's going to be playing in this game in 2 months. Nick Kurtz will be on the team. Also, Munetaka Murakami. Not my only White Sox. Again, we'll get to that later. But really, I wouldn't say too surprising for everybody, but definitely a guy getting hate in the offseason and really coming through. J-Ram. Same as Mike Trout, right? He may not start every single year, but he's going to be there if he's healthy. He does so much for his team. And my last infielder, I did pick Kevin McGonigal. So there's my other Tiger. I know it's going to be hard to squeeze in guys pitching wise, but this is a guy I felt like I couldn't leave off. He's been so impactful.
Yeah, I went catcher / first baseman. Another guy that can play, Ben Rice. So that there we flip flop the first baseman. Kevin McGonigal is the next one. I definitely think he deserves a spot. A bit of a slow May, but that's fine. I think he's still good enough to be on this list for sure. J-Ram, I had Vargas winning the fan vote at third. Probably won't happen, so probably flip flopped here as well too. But J-Ram definitely makes the team. Munetaka Murakami, second White Sox here because I had Vargas earlier, but he might be a guy that wins the fan vote. I don't know, maybe Japan just goes nuts and votes him in at first base over Kurtz and Rice. Who knows? But that's definitely a possibility. Yandy Diaz, who I have as a Ray, over Junior Caminero. Yandy's had seems to be just continuously underrated seasons. He's done it again this year. 1.5 WAR, 150 WRC plus. And then my Texas Ranger representative is Josh Young. Needed to have one in here, and I felt this is probably a spot that works best. So Josh Young is my last infielder, which leaves me with only one outfielder, but that's just how it worked out this year.
Yep.
Yandy could play outfield, I guess, or Contreras, or J-Ram did it like 8 years ago. So who are your outfielders?
All right, so a couple guys that are going to be mentioned. Byron Buxton on your starters, of course, would make it. Another guy, when he's healthy, he just puts up numbers. I have Julio Rodriguez, usually a slow starter, actually really good so far, despite the rest of the team being kind of slumped right now. And I also have Yordan Alvarez. Never really know what to do with DHs in this situation, but at least
I skipped DH. That's my bad.
I was just like, I'm like, he's got to be there somewhere. If you want to call him an outfielder, that's fine. But I think National League's going to be a lot trickier with that this season. So that's my team.
Yeah, Yordan's probably a starter for both of us. I forgot to put that on there. He's literally on my sheet. I just didn't say it. I skipped over it. So pencil Yordan in as a starter for both of us.
Yeah.
My only outfielder is Cody Bellinger. I guess Randy could have been close, but I decided to go somewhere else for Seattle. A couple other guys as well too, but Cody Bellinger is the guy that stuck out to me. So I think he deserves it. And that takes us to the starters. Who is your actual starting pitcher for the All-Star game for the AL?
Yeah, we're going Cam Schlittler on this one. Absolute demon. I bet he's leading. I forget. So my bad, but I'm bet he's leading for strikeouts in the American League right now. If it's not someone from Toronto, like what Cam Schlittler's done this season.
Let me see who's actually leading in strikeouts. It might be Cease. Yeah, Cease, okay. But he's close. Cam Cam Slittler is the guy for me as well too. There's not really a choice there. I think that's pretty obvious. And then the rest of the starters, there's 7 of them. I guess we'll split righty lefty. So start off with the lefties that you have, if there's any in there, and then I'll go to my lefties.
Well, looks like I have no lefty starters on my team right now. So I'll just go through it. This again, the pitching was the toughest for me finding another team. So I think Jose Soriano would definitely be on this team from the Angels. Dylan Cease as one of the Toronto representatives. Joe Ryan teams up with Buxton over there from Minnesota. I felt like I couldn't leave off a pitcher from Tampa because that's been their identity. So I have Drew Rasmussen on here. Davis Martin for such a hot stretch makes it for me from the White Sox. Michael Wacha, fantasy god for me. And my Texas representative will be DeGrom over Eovaldi. He's another guy. If he's healthy, he should be there.
Yeah, my other 7 starters, a couple of lefties that I did have. Max Fried will get in. I know he's starting to get hurt.
He would have been there. I just needed another team.
Been dealing with injury. Yeah, he's my 5th Yankee on the roster, so it's a little tough there. Maybe he's the guy that gets left out. I don't know. We'll see. And then another lefty who you'll like, I did put Parker Messick in. He's been really good for the Guardians. It's 2.24 ERA. Expected stats show a little bit regression coming, but I don't really think it should be like that in the All-Star game. I think it should really just be performance. All the other stuff, your contracts and stuff can be off the expected. And then the righties, Dylan Cease definitely gets in. He's striking out everybody this year in his first year in Toronto. Davis Martin 100% deserves it. He's just been eating innings for the White Sox, averaging over 8 innings or 6 innings to start. Joe Ryan will definitely get in. He's also my second twin. Jose Soriano, the 3 All-Star Angels. Did not think you'd say that for a team that's, I believe still currently the worst record in the AL. And then the Seattle representative. This was a team I struggled to put anybody on because I do think there's a ton of guys struggling. Randy was close. J-Rod was close. Brian Wu was close, which leads me to go with George Kirby, who's just thrown a ton of innings for the Seattle Mariners so far. Currently is 3rd in the AL in innings. In his spot, I originally did not have there because I had somebody else, and then I fixed it because I wanted to have you need to have a Mariner on the team. It was going to be Gavin Williams, so it would have been a second Cleveland starter. Turns out not being, which takes us to our relievers. So just give me all 6 that you got here.
Okay. We'll start it off with Louis Varland of Toronto, been one of the hands down cleanest guy when it comes to relievers, whether they're pitching in the 9th or not. Aroldis Chapman will be my Boston guy. Really bad season for Boston outside of a few guys. Cade Smith will also make it. I believe he's got the most saves in the American League. He's another guy, right? Cleveland reliever who's leading in saves. Is going to be an all-star. Another Tampa guy, Brian Baker. I've really enjoyed watching this season. My Baltimore representative will be Rico Garcia, a sub-1 ERA. And I feel like there's always one extra lefty who you're like, what? He's an all-star? Are you serious? But just because no one else wants to play in it. I have Brent Hedrick from the Yankees.
Okay. My 6 relievers, it's always fun to do the relievers part because there is always a couple that you're like, oh, wow, he was an all-star. Louis Varland's not that guy. He is 100% just, okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's an all-star. And he's my slated closer here. With Cade Smith right behind him as the 4th Cleveland All-Star, or the 3rd Cleveland All-Star, actually, because no Gavin Williams. Rico Garcia is my Baltimore representative. Brian Baker is my 2nd Tampa Bay Ray. Aroldis Chapman is my 2nd Boston Red Sox. And then my 5th guy, or my 4th guy from Cleveland, who's now hurt, unfortunately, Eric Sabrowski, who's just been ridiculous in the Cleveland bullpen, has been a saver in my – or I guess I should say a holder in my fantasy baseball league. Sabrowski's amazing. I believe he just went on the IL for like elbow inflammation. So we'll see next year, Sorsby. But he's been really freaking good for the Guardians. And I think he's a guy that deserves to be here. Thought about putting Jacob Latz over Josh Young because he's been a solid reliever for Texas. But I did go Sabrowski instead. But Takes us to the NL, and we'll get started with the starters here. I will not forget DH this time. I will
Okay.
not. Starting with the catcher.
National League was a lot trickier to find somebody for all teams, but I'm 99% sure I got it right. So let me know if I mess something up. But we'll start with Drake Baldwin. Just went on the injured list, so we'll see how much time he misses. But hitting over 300 with some serious power—that's all you can ask for from your young catcher.
Yeah, Drake Baldwin. This is an easy choice so far. Contreras has been good. Herrera has been good. Liam Hicks has been really good. But Baldwin's the choice here. First base.
Matty O of Atlanta, maybe not their captain, but certainly playing like the most powerful hitter in their lineup. Could not leave him off the starting list.
Yeah, Matty O here as well too. Just like the AL, I had a team with the starting catcher, or so the starting first baseman. On to second base.
Bryce Terang has had such an amazing stretch, and maybe the only guy not slumping other than Schwarber from the Team USA roster right now. I love watching him play, and it was an easy pick for me with how weak second base has been.
I actually think the NL second base has been really good. I think there's 6 guys that I'm like, okay, maybe he could start, or maybe he can win the fan vote. I don't know. Nico Horner, Luis Arias, JJ Weatherholt, Xavier Edwards, Brandon Lau, but Bryce Terang is guy for me as well too. He's been amazing. Defense surprisingly just hasn't been as good as what we thought it was ever going to be for Bryce Terang, but the offense is way better than we thought it would be.
Yeah.
OBP over 400 right now. On to third base.
At third base, I'm going Max Muncy with this one. It's another Dodger. We're going to have a ton of them on here, I bet. I just didn't feel like Bregman or Arenado are playing like all-stars this season, so I didn't include them.
Yeah, Muncy is the choice for me as well, too. Probably the easiest choice out of any of these. Nolan Arenado's had a great year. I don't want to forget that. I mean, a 126 WRC plus is way better than what I think we would have thought for Nolan Arenado at this point in his career. But Max Muncy wins this by a landslide. He's playing good defense as well, too. Shortstop.
All right, shortstop, I'm going Elly De La Cruz. We talked about him last month, potentially player of the month, MLB The Show. Thought so. Still going, man. We usually see a slump by now. He's still doing his thing.
Yeah, EDLC, pretty easy choice. 2.64 leads all shortstops by 0.6. He's been really good. So Cincinnati's all-star is here. And then the 3 outfield spots have fun and way different outfield, I'd say, in the NL than there is in the AL.
Yeah, there are definitely going to be guys on my bench, too, that we could spend a lot of time talking about. But 3 guys I chose. We'll start with Andy Pages of the Dodgers. Maybe this is another one of those picks. Like, it's not that he's the best center fielder in baseball, but it's that so many of us called our shot on him being a breakout, and he's done so much more with that opportunity than anyone could have guessed. James Wood is another one of my guys. Crushing the baseball, just hit another home run today. And the third guy, I'm betting on Juan Soto. I know he's played a lot less games than everyone else on this list, but hey, you compare him to someone like Corbin Carroll, he's got a lot more power and maybe even more creation in the lineup. So I stuck with him.
I'm not taking off Corbin Carroll. He's been the most valuable player in the National League so far. And I think he has about 1 billion triples at this point in his career. I think he's actually one off of Steven Drew now for the all-time Arizona Diamondbacks
that's crazy.
Triples record. So that's kind of nuts. He might run, I don't know, I think it's like Trip Walker or something like that has like 1 billion triples, but Corbin Carroll might get 1,000,000,001 in his career. So he's my first outfielder. My second, and let me tangent here in the comparison between the AL and the NL outfielders. AL outfielders, for me, it's like, okay, this guy's won an MVP. He's been an all-star 15 times. Let me pencil in, or Buxton hasn't won one, but Buxton, Trout, and Judge just felt easy to me. This one, it's like, okay, this guy, maybe one-time all-star, but he hasn't really done much besides that. Corbin Carroll, for sure. James Wood was the next guy I chose. Like you said, he also homered already today. I believe has been the most valuable offensive outfielder so far in the National League. And then the guy I could not leave off, Jordan Walker, has just been ridiculous this year for a great St. Louis team. So I did go Jordan Walker starting the All-Star game in probably right field. I assume Corbin center, Wood left, and then Wood and right, or Walker and right. Takes us to DH, which is an interesting spot in the NL this year.
Yeah, I wonder, and I would imagine Dave Roberts is managing this game again. So what would he do compared to what would the fans do? I still have Kyle Schwarber here, and we'll talk about Shohei in probably 20 seconds here. But he's on a tear, leading everybody in homers once again.
Yeah, I went Schwarber as a DH. I'll put Shohei in a different spot, which we'll get into probably in a couple minutes.
I should say in 3 minutes, not 30 seconds.
But Schwarber gets it for me. I think he deserves it over Shohei as well, too. Will he win the fan vote? Probably fucking not. Like, Shohei will probably have, like, triple the amount of votes as him. But regardless, I think Schwarber deserves it. That brings us to our reserves in the National League. I guess we can do the same thing. Catchers, infielders, outfielders.
Okay, I do have a catcher. My backup catcher will be William Contreras. So I have one Contreras, not the Boston one. Milwaukee Contreras has been awesome per usual and really captain for that team.
I don't have a catcher, so on to your infielders.
Okay, this one was really, really tough. You mentioned the second baseman. I'm going to have to leave off Brandon Lau. I'm going to have to leave off Xavier Edwards because I need a Chicago Cub still. And their pitching has been subpar. So I have Nico Horner on there. Ketel Marte heated up just enough to get my attention. He's another guy that would be here. Like, if he's not hurt, he's going to be there. Otto Lopez, leading baseball in batting average. And I'm going to have to leave off Hicks, too. Like, obviously, he's a catcher. We didn't mention catchers. Almost leading baseball in RBIs, too, but not on the list. But those are my infielders. Marte, Nico Horner, Otto Lopez.
My infielders, I'm not exactly sure how many there are, but we'll get through it. The first one is Brandon Lau. I do think he definitely makes it. Phenomenal year in Pittsburgh. I think it's one of those years where it's like, okay, I believe it's the players that decide the reserves. I think it'll be a guy that gets voted in there. Xavier Edwards is the next one. Probably the guy that will get left off from his peers, but this guy's a ball player. Super fun to see that the career path of Xavier Edwards, where he was a top prospect, kind of fell off. I forget how he got to Miami, but then next thing you know, you see him, he's playing baseball, and he's
underrated
330, playing good defense and stealing a shit ton of bases. So Xavier Edwards is just a very fun ball player to watch. Luis Arias has turned into a Gold Glove level second baseman, and with him hitting the way that he normally does, and actually feel like even better than he normally does. He gets the Giants representative spot for me because there's not a Giant on my team yet. Otto Lopez deserves to be there as well too. So the middle infield for the Miami Marlins is there. And then CJ Abrams I did put on. I was close to not having him on and having him be like my biggest snub. But CJ Abrams I think deserves a spot. So that leaves me with 3 outfielders.
Yeah, CJ Abrams will end up being my biggest snub today because of the way I constructed this lineup. And I know I did it to myself, but I have 4 outfielders left because I need Mickey Moniak. He's my Colorado guy. Definitely not touching their pitching right now, unless you found something in the pen that I didn't see. Corbin Carroll, I agree with you. He's top 3 in MVP for me. It's just the way I did my lineup. I chose Juan Soto. Jordan Walker is another one of those guys. He has to be there right now. And the last guy I have is Michael Harris because maybe that's another guy I voted on, and he came through for me with way more power than we've ever seen. And that Atlanta team's just filthy all the way through.
I have Andy Pages to start, and then 2 auto bids because they don't have a representative. Surprisingly, it's the Mets and the Cubs, 2 of the biggest fan bases of baseball. I'll start off Juan Soto. Was hurt for a little bit, has been fine without there, or when he is there. He is not the reason why the Mets are having this disaster class season. He's been really the point that you can count on every single day in that Mets lineup. And there really hasn't been anybody else besides him that you can count on. And then surprisingly, like you said, the Cubs needed a rep. I went PCA here. The offense has been around league average, but the defense has been like as good as it could possibly be. And I do think that plays a role here a little bit. Uh, I do feel like he's also kind of that guy that's like when the league polls come around, it's like vote who's the most overrated player in the sport, and it's not Jazz Chisholm anymore. They vote Pete Crow Armstrong just because maybe some of the vets don't like how he acts. But I mean, he's a phenomenal defender. I know he had a mistake, I believe, last week against the Brewers where he missed the ground ball from David Hamilton. It turned into a little league 3-run home run. And even with that, I mean, he is just ridiculous in center field. He makes the non-routine look routine. And so I think sometimes it gets overshadowed. But PCA is a phenomenal player. He'll be a 5 to 6 WAR guy, even with league average defense for the rest of his career, or until, maybe it's like 30 and defense slows down. But I mean, he is. I can't say this. I wanted to say he's Andrelton Simmons light. But I mean, nobody will ever be Andrelton Simmons. That guy's the Barry Bonds of playing shortstop. So, those are the reserves.
Very well said.
We've done the NL starters for both teams. We've done the NL and AL reserves for both teams. Now it's on to the pitchers. On the NL side, starting with the starting pitcher for the National League, it will be who?
We need to have Shohei Ohtani start somewhere in this game. If it's not going to be at DH, then it's going to be on the mound if he's up for it. So Shohei Ohtani's my starter. We'll see what his innings look like at the end of the year, but I still think he's got to be the best or the second best guy in all of baseball at starting games.
Yeah, I thought about Shohei, but I'm on a Mizrowski bender right now, man. He's just so ridiculous. He's turned into Jacob deGrom level of like, I need to watch this guy pitch each time out. He's that dominant. It's very like I'll quickly compare him to Skeens, and it's no shot on Skeens, but Skeens is a very like boringly good type guy. I know his stuff is phenomenal, but it's just like he just gets outs. Mizrowski just like throws a 98-mile-per-hour slider that you're just like, okay, I've never seen that before. Like that's kind of nuts. I think he will be the guy that starts. It probably will be Shohei. I want it to be Miz, and I need to make another like I need my top 5. I need to watch these starters when they start type list. Yeah. So maybe I'll do that in this coming week. But Mizrowski is the guy for me. And then the rest of the starters, we'll go start off with the lefties and then get to the righties.
Okay. Obviously, Christopher Sanchez is going to be here. He's been awesome. I mentioned last week, it looks like he's playing the game on veteran or something, and everyone else is on legend. Just gets crazy amount of outs. Chris Sale will also be there. He's still got it, man. I love watching him pitch. And that will actually be the end of the lefties for me.
My lefties, Christopher Sanchez, and I'm sorry to Christopher Sanchez that he was not in our starting the game discussion because he very well should be. He's been so good for a second straight year, but I did go Miz over him, of course. And then I have 2 other lefties, Chris Sale, who's been dominant again this year. Just timeless Chris Sale. When he's healthy, he's just impossible to hit. And then a very fun third lefty that I have, the third rep from the Brewers, is Kyle Harrison. So he gets to make it this time. Brewers have changed him completely, and he's just been ridiculously good. He strikes out everybody. He's pitching to a 1.77 ERA right now, and would be the first guy I'd be able to say I played with an all-star, and he would be it. And then on to the righties.
Of course, the Miz will be there, right up there at the top. If he's not starting, he'll be the next guy to come in, probably. He's been awesome. Paul Skeens, I still have. I couldn't get that representative in with Brandon Lowe. Paul Skeens still an all-star, despite not having the best numbers in the league. We also got Yoshinobu Yamamoto, another Dodger, but it seems like he's too dominant to ignore just to fit in guys from other teams. My other Cincinnati representative will be Chase Burns, who everybody loves watching. He's got to be pretty high up on that list too now, right?
Yeah.
And the last spot, I had Kyle Harrison originally here, but I don't have a giant. So Landon Rupp will be an all-star starter for me. 3 ERA. I just can't watch their bullpen, so it's got to be a starter if I can't fit in an Arias or a Schmidt or something like that. So Landon Rupp for me.
Yeah, Shohei, same kind of thing. Obviously needs to be here. Kind of like the exact same stuff you said for Miz. Paul Skeens is definitely still on this list as well too. He's boringly good. I know it's a 3 ERA right now, which just seems drastically high for him, but it won't be that way. I mean, take out that first start, and the ERA is probably at a 2, so he's fine. Third guy you said, probably high up on my list, Chase Burns. I'm technically currently watching David Peterson pitch, would be one of my last, but they're facing the Reds. Chase Burns is starting, so I have that game on right now. So yes, Chase Burns is very much high up on that list. He is a representative, or a second representative so far from the Reds, because I also had EDLC on here. And then I went a little weird here for the last spot. A guy who just is somehow going to be on a second All-Star team that I think a lot of people are confused about. And I went Bryce Elder. Just a phenomenal year in Atlanta. One of the sleeper reasons why the Braves have been so good is their starting pitching. I think everybody thinks the offense, but Bryce Elder has been so good this year. He's pitching to a 1.97 ERA. Will he collapse and have a 5 ERA in the second half? I don't know. I mean, it's happened before when he was an all-star, but he's good enough right now to be my last starter. And I was fine because the 2 reps that I do not have a team for or a player for, the Padres and the Rockies, they have some relievers that work in. So that takes us to the relievers. And I guess we'll start Mason Miller, and then you can tell me the rest.
Yes, Mason Miller. Obviously, we're American League guys when it comes to the All-Star game, so I hope he doesn't get the save against the American League here. But to see him at the end of the game is going to be electric in this one. Also, we got Riley O'Brien. If Mason Miller didn't exist, this guy would be getting a lot more attention in the National League for this spot. Also have Johan Duran of the Phillies. Love watching. He's the most solid guy in their bullpen. A guy that I love watching every year, Aaron Ashby. And I feel like he's always in the game when it breaks for the Brewers. Maybe that's why he already has 8 wins this season. And then I finished it off with 2 Brewers. This was a spot you usually have to mess around with the bullpen, or Brewers, 2 Braves, Atlanta Braves, best team in baseball for both of us. Dylan Lee, Raisel Iglesias. See how they finish when they get there. But as of right now, untouchable.
Yeah, Mason Miller, easy one. Don't need to go too far into that. We spoke of him at nausea at this point. He's just ridiculous. 17.87 K per 9 with a strikeout rate of 52. So that's kind of nuts. 52%, that is. Riley O'Brien, I chose in here as well too. A phenomenal second half last year, has parlayed that into a great start this season with the Cardinals. When I feel like he's a guy that maybe we don't have a ton of visibility to. But I mean, when you watch, I assume you saw him as well too when they played the A's. Like his stuff is okay. Like I understand why this guy's been so dominant. Raisel Iglesias has not allowed a run yet. He's on this list for sure. Robert Suarez, I went with over Dylan Lee. Just a bit of a higher leverage guy. Has dealt with some save spots when Iglesias was hurt. So I did go Robert Suarez, who's been phenomenal in that back end of the bullpen for the Braves, a .81 ERA. Johan Duran I put in here as well too. He is currently 4th in the NL in saves and has a 1.71 ERA. That takes me to my Rockies bid. And how about the return of Antonio Zensatella, who's just been ridiculous in the back end of the bullpen for the Colorado Rockies this year? I don't think they could even believe it. He has a 1.13 ERA. He's throwing 97 miles per hour now. His stuff is really good. They changed him around completely, and Zensatella will probably be a guy that's very highly coveted at the trade deadline. Will he be a Rocky by July 15th or whatever when the All-Star game is? I mean, he probably has the highest chance of not being on their team in comparison to any other of these guys that we've talked about, but He's been great in the Rockies bullpen. He's the guy that whenever you do this exercise, at least for me, I always think about, okay, who's the guy on the worst team that I need to put in here? That's like the thing I think about first. I was thinking Mickey Moniak because he's had a great year as well too. But Senzatella is the guy for me. And I think this year, like the bad teams in the league, it's really not like that. Like I had three Angels, the Rockies. Like you can make a case that Senzatella and Moniak should both be on the team. It was the Rangers I had the toughest time for, and then the Cubs, I'd say, and maybe even the Mariners, which is not three teams that you would expect going into the season.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate way. That went for me too.
Moving on, second half, football and basketball.
Yeah, almost done here. But there's one thing I was thinking about this last night. I was like, we never talked about Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it was the week that we took off and that's when he signed and that's why we forgot about it. But Aaron Rodgers will go back to Pittsburgh for one season. This is the last big move in the NFL. And now we're officially on to training camp. Aaron Rodgers says he's going to retire after this season. And it makes sense, right? You can't throw Drew Aller out there, even if you are a guy who likes watching Will Howard. It's not something you can do if you want to compete in that division right now. So Rodgers is back, 3 years removed from the Achilles now. I still don't think it's possible for him to get any quicker or change his mindset on the game of football, but it'll be interesting to watch one of the greats come back for one more year.
Yeah. I guess the other NFL news stuff would be Sorsby.
Yes.
That's kind of very recent stuff as well, too. Do you know more about that situation and what happens if, he does get drafted in the supplemental draft and what that might look like? Or are you kind of confused there, too?
Yeah, so with the supplemental draft, it's going to happen this summer before the season starts. And basically, it starts off backwards. It starts off in the 7th round. So everybody calls in 7th round. All right, anyone want to take one here? And if you pick a guy in the 7th round, you have to give up a 7th round pick for the next year. But sometimes if you have a very intriguing pick here, like I remember Brian Bosworth, we weren't alive, but he got in a lot of trouble in college, but he was such a big figure, kind of like this Sorsby situation that Seattle gave a 1st round pick. So Sorsby being a quarterback, we could see someone offer a 3rd or 2nd, maybe even a 1st if there are teams bidding against each other. So I think that would come down to probably the dumbest teams in football, which are the Jets, the Browns, and the Cardinals.
That's interesting. Well, was Tyrann Mathieu supplemental draft guy?
I think he was a 3rd or a 2nd supplemental pick.
Yeah. I think I saw something about that. But
the last one was like 10 years ago, a corner who never really played.
Oh, yeah. Sorsby's an interesting one. He's obviously in a weird spot. He's got a gambling addiction. So I don't know. Does that draw teams away from it? Or if your quarterback going into the year is Jordan Travis, are you like, okay, let me go ahead and well, USFL teams actually do not get a pick in here, but
yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'm good waiting for another. Maybe it helps that the Jets have 3 first-round picks next year, but I don't think I would give a 2nd-round pick for him.
Do you think he'll get a 2nd-round pick, or what if you were to I need to make a bet on this? What do you think would happen?
I think a lot of teams are going to be offering 4th-round picks for him, and I think that's up to Sorsby at that point. It could get higher. If you have Jets Browns battling against each other, maybe we do see someone offer a good pick for him. But it's a very risky situation.
All right. Yeah. See how it goes. We'll see where Sorsby ends up. If he's even eligible for this, it looks like he will be. But
I think he's played his last down of college football.
Yeah. Which brings us to basketball.
Yeah. One last thing before we get out of here. There is still one series going on. It's been excellent. 2-2 right now in the Western Conference Finals. San Antonio will head back to OKC tonight. 30 minutes they tip off. Of course, we talked about this when San Antonio surprisingly won the first game and looked amazing. You picked San Antonio. I don't know if it's cheating or not because I originally had OKC win the championship. But after I saw that first game, I was like, no, dude, I want to see San Antonio now. Biggest story so far, the injuries. These guys are beating the crap out of each other. OKC looks like they do really, really need Jalen Williams on the floor to help SGA just maneuver around and make plays. And he's out again tonight. And AJ Mitchell pulled his calf. And, especially Warriors fans know about that. If OKC's serious about the future with AJ Mitchell, he's not going to be playing in this series again. So that's going to come down to Wembanyama. Can he do it by himself? He's been, dude, unbelievable. The shots he takes, not even from that first game, even after that, he's pulling up in transition from Curry range at 7'4". Unimaginable stuff from San Antonio. So I'm still rooting for him, but we just got to wait and see. Is OKC going to need all of their guards to be healthy to win this one? And then, of course, there is one more series that's over. Let you talk about it because that was your layup last week.
Yeah. I'll just talk about my thoughts on this series so far. Obviously, it's been great. Yeah. I think it's also crazy that the Knicks just dominated the crap out of I was going to say the Guardians, and then it's going to the Browns, and then it's going to got to the Cavs eventually because there's no hockey team in Cleveland, I don't think. But
no,
that was just a dominant series. It's going to be crazy to see if the Spurs do win this and get to a Spurs Knicks finals. The chance that they come up with in the Garden to say "fuck Wemby" and all that stuff, that'll be very interesting. And all the side talk interviews that we get from all those New Yorkers, I think it'll be very potent if OKC wins. The fuck SGA chance will become very serious, but I'm curious to see how it goes with a guy like Wemby as well too, who is that like KD. I guess KD didn't really have it, but like that Steph LeBron type of player. Early part in their career, we're like, oh, like this guy's really got it and could be the next one. Are they more tentative because they want him to be a Knick in 5 years, or are they just going all out and beating the crap out of him? But regardless, I think it'll be whoever plays New York is going to be a great series. I think both those teams are good enough to take games from the Knicks. I think OKC is definitely good enough to beat the Knicks in some scenarios, but we'll see. That Knicks team is rolling right now. Winners of 11 in a row?
They have not lost since the Jets drafted Cade Klubnik.
Okay. All right. I guess that means they also haven't lost since the Giants drafted Malachi Fields as well, too.
That's true.
So, or the Raiders drafted Trazy in the third, so maybe a whole bunch of different stuff. Anyways, layups, bold predictions. Last week, I had the Knicks over Cleveland in 5 or less. You could just see from a mile away that's how that series is going to go. And I'm doing it again. The Guardians, not the Guardians, the Browns, the Cavs. The Cavs played some of the worst transition defense I've ever seen in my life in Game 4. Just letting 2K type back cuts and cherry picking, and they just didn't do anything to solve it.
James Harden's never going back to the finals, guys. I don't know why they're talking about long-term extension with him too right now. It's not going to happen if he's on the floor.
Well, that went green. Skyler had Arizona over Colorado on Friday. That did go green as well too. Good one for Arizona. I believe that was more of a pitching matchup type game. Yeah, I went the same type of vision here this week. It's a Soroka start versus Trevor McDonald tomorrow at Oracle Park in San Francisco. Trevor McDonald, we've seen up front close. He's been really good, but Soroka's been even better. And Arizona's lineup is rolling right now, specifically Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll. Ryan Waldschmidt's starting to get going. Tommy Troy, Stanford product, just got called up a couple of days ago. I'm going to take Arizona to win this one over a Giants team who's been playing better recently, but still has some struggles throughout their roster.
I'm going 2 Friday night baseball games for my picks here. We'll start off with the layup. Cleveland will beat Boston on Friday night. That's Brian Bayo at Slade Sassoni. Bayo just doesn't have it right now, man. This is a guy who needs to either go to the bullpen or change teams or something, because even though Slade Sassoni's not having the greatest season either as a starter, I'm going to trust Cleveland in this one.
Last week, bold prediction, I had the San Antonio Spurs over OKC Thunder. I'm keeping it the same this week. I'll just say that. I'm not going to make a pick here. because that one's still going on. Skyler had Tampa Bay over the Yankees on Friday. Tampa Bay went in there, and I believe they won that series.
Yeah.
I know they won that game, so goes green there. This week, like I said, I'm keeping it the same. San Antonio over OKC in the long run, which we will know for sure, I believe, by next week.
Yeah, I like it. I like San Antonio too. Of course, we've been talking about it a lot on here compared to the rest of the league, at least. But like I said, another baseball pick. Going bold prediction against the Dodgers again. It's worked for me twice this year. So going back to it, the Phillies and Zach Wheeler are going to beat them on Friday night. They're actually going to LA. They're facing Robleski, who's been awesome. But Zach Wheeler's on a different level after coming back from his injury. And I don't want to bet against them, basically. And I want to stick with my Friday night picks. This was the pitching matchup. I felt like Philly could win a game 4-2.
Yeah. That's going to do it. Next week, 294. Gage Jump will be 2 starts into his MLB career, I believe.
Hopefully that's your opener again.
Hopefully, yeah. I believe it'll be the night of his second start again, actually, because the A's have an off day on Thursday, then an off day on Monday. So his second start probably at Wrigley next week. Hopefully the wind's blowing in, not out. And then after that, his next start would be in Houston, I believe. So
interesting.
Fun starts to start off your career. Hopefully we're talking more about him next week. Hopefully we're talking about the A's getting through this weather storm that they're dealing with, because it'll be June next time, no longer May. I know the saying is April showers bring May flowers, but May losses bring June wins for the A's, hopefully, because it's been that type of month. Hopefully Wemby's in the finals. I don't think we'd see game 1 regardless until probably next Friday or something like that. It's probably going to be a little bit, but
I think you're right.
Yeah. Anything else? I know we have power rankings next week as well too. That'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be talking about everybody next week in Major League Baseball. Maybe a little finals preview, and just keeping it simple until we get to the big stories.
To the big leagues. We're going to the big leagues.
All right, Kyle. We got 294 next week. Great stuff today. Didn't come into this one with any closing remarks. Forgot about that part. Watch college baseball, college World Series.
Yeah, go Chos. Chomaha.
Yes, sir. Adios.